Um, Very important thing. My son asked me who I like in golf today. I'm just going to point to him to the video. How about that? Better. Let him absorb the content like everybody else.
Who's that?
You can hear me? All right. Let's see. I was going to say, my son asked me who I like in golf, so I was going to say I'm going to just send him. I'm going to send him to the same video everybody else does.
Yeah, you guys, if you haven't checked it out, check out the video we did with Rick. It's a good one to get you prepped for tomorrow. Should be a fun weekend of golf. So great to have a guy like Rick on here, and he's literally, at least as far as I'm concerned, the guy who I would look to for everything. So good to have him on. This is a really weird slate. I want to just, do you mind if I jump into some thoughts on this?
No.
I'm not buying any of this. Like, I don't necessarily believe Holmes is going to play tonight. The reason he sat out last night was because they're trying to trade him. So he may play, but I would rather wait and backload your lineups, use less value from early games. I have a bunch of placeholder guys who are maybe not going to play. I will leave in like guys like Damian Jones, who I will only play if Holmes is not starting and he's starting. Guys like Jameis Ramsey, Lewis King, Royce O'Neal, everybody whose games start at 10 o'clock, because we have the whole Minnesota Timberwolves team questionable, basically, except for Towns. And we have no idea what's going to happen with the Lakers tonight. We have no idea if Josh Hart's playing, although it looks unlikely, but he's got a projection right now. No one's playing the guys as much. Mitchell is getting a little bit of ownership, but mostly the people are ignoring the Golden State Utah game. These are all reasons why you should be backloading your lineups as much as you can. Now, it's really hard to do. So I have my little general theory is play 2 to 3 Hornets for tournaments. Try to play 1 Bull. Try to consider all the Raptors, but certainly nobody is a must play. And Lou Dort is fine. As far as Trey Mann goes, I just think you're giving up a lot by who you could play later. And I would ignore the first game with everything being the way it is now. If Garland plays, if Garland doesn't, I think Mobley, and you could take a shot on Jared. I mean, all those guys you can take shots on. I just don't see any of them being priorities on this kind of a slate. So my thing is just is procrastinate and wait. I have Derek Favors in some lineups because I just don't know what's going to happen, and I'm not going to sit here and assume that because a guy's not on the injury report, we have no confirmation that Holmes is going to play at all, or that he's not going to be traded by then, or that maybe nobody wants him, but maybe they don't want to play him. I don't know what's going to happen with him. If he plays, I think you could take a shot on him, but you're going to still find that out later anyway, and you're going to have more switchable things. So on DraftKings, I would say you want at least try to get 4 or 5 of your players at least in the later games. That's my overall slate thoughts. And I think it's really important to do so. Now, if everybody ends up playing and all that doesn't, so what? So you still have options, you know what I mean? Yeah, it's just, it's nasty. It's a nasty slate. It's a typical, for a small slate, it's a very typical pre trade deadline slate. But we do have a smaller slate to deal with. So when you get all the chalk on these early games, or as much as there's going to be, I think that we should just be trying to late stack them. I mean, it's not out of the question that LeBron and Westbrook don't play. I don't think it's the most likely, but I think it's definitely possible. And I think it's possible that I think it's possible that one of those 3 or 2 of those 3 don't play. And then that makes that game the most stackable. So it's a very tricky situation right now. And I think I'm just going to play the waiting game for the most part. The priorities for the early games order for me for the Hornets would be LaMelo and Oubre. They're going to be chalky, but followed by Washington, then Rozier on DraftKings. On FanDuel, I like Rozier a little bit better. And I don't mind if you want to pivot off of LaMelo and play Fred VanVleet. I think you should be playing a lot of Fox. I think you should be playing a lot of Simons. But that's all the later game stuff. So there's really not a whole lot we can do. And honestly, we're going to need some starting lineups at some point from some of these teams. But I don't even think we have anything to do until 7:30 Eastern, and that's, even that we pretty much know who's probably going to be starting. You can use Troy Brown or Javonte Green as thin value plays with no Sonmu in there. That's why Kobe White is popping, by the way. Kobe White, obviously, you can use, but I don't really want to prioritize anything in these early games with whatever he's doing. Podol is fine. Allen could have a ceiling, sure. There's a lot of meh stuff anyway. So other than the Hornets side of it, which I do think you want to play 2 or 3 of them, I don't feel very strongly about anything.
We're recording. What's up?
And I will keep talking, and I'll answer questions. There's have some in there. Garland, nothing. That's just more of a reason not to play. I do like Vooch as one of the Bulls run backs. I think at the low ownership, that's really a valuable thing to do. I think that it's interesting to see Vooch at this low of ownership on this late. It's because of the price shock, but I'm pretty sure. I mean, who did he just destroy the other day in a similar type of spot? It was Indiana. We know there's a ceiling. The guy put up 64 and 60 and 70 on back-to-back days, like Indiana and Toronto. And this is as good of a matchup as Vooch is going to get. Okay, sheets. I don't know what he's.
Give me the address. Give me the crypto address and tell me where to send and how much to send.
Okay, so anyway, Wall.
I could send it for you.
Willie. I think that would be one of the worst possible things you could do.
I'll help you. I'll help you. I'll do it later.
I can't talk over him. He talks louder than me, so I can't do it. Yeah, I think Wall for Westbrook, I think that'd be an awful, awful decision. And I don't know. The Lakers is a mess anyway, but John Wall is not going to solve anything. It's a huge downgrade, and there's nothing about it that I like. Favorite FanDuel center power forward. As I said, you're stacking the later games. So I like in the early games, I like Washington, Barnes, and Vooch on FanDuel. In the later games, I really like Metu still, but it's a later game thing. I think the other guy you can use over there is Mobley or Jared Allen, but mostly it's going to be the later guys for me. So Bridges is a small forward, but power forward would be Barnes, Washington, and Nurkic and Vooch and Bogdanovich. Mostly I'm going to try and slant the later games still. So with most of my lineups, I mean, we have literally, like I said, everybody for Minnesota in a great game environment, questionable. For an undermanned Sacramento team, we have the Lakers with Westbrook and LeBron questionable against a Portland team that has nobody. Like, these are the games you should be targeting. You should be including at least one. I prefer 2. And I think in some cases 3 Hornets is okay. They played basically a 6-man rotation the other night. And that's what I got for you on those games. It's really not a whole lot to talk about these early games. I think, yeah, you can mix in some of the other guys, the Mobleys. I do like Vooch. I like DeRozan a little bit. But I think your main goal should be to try to get the games.
I have a question. So if you're going to play the Charlotte, you said if you want to play like 3, you probably want to run it back with the Bull. Is it enough to run it back with a Kobe White, or do you need like one of the better guys?
I would rather it be one of the better ones, depending on which 3 you're running out there. But I think it's okay to do it with Kobe White. But again, I think you don't want to play these early games out as much. So you're probably none of those guys. Like even the more I think about it, maybe you don't need to run it back even if you played 3, because all the plays are in these later games. Like, I mean, we don't know what's going to happen here. You could end up with absolute chalk. And then there's, I got a question from MJ in there. Like, what's the priority of Westbrook out? Well, that depends. Is LeBron out too? Is AD out too? I don't know. Like, I don't know who that is. Who's starting? AD would become a priority, and LeBron would be more of a priority. But they're already good plays as it is. But it's not just a Westbrook thing. It's a if this and that. And by the way, there's a bunch of other guys that are on the trading block that are in these later games. So all those priorities might change. And even if the Lakers look good, then what if Russell and Edwards sit for Minnesota? So your real thing is just to try to buy yourself time, because I don't think that there's a way to play this slate projecting what's going to happen when there's literally nobody, including the team, including the players, who knows who's going to play tonight. So unless we get news really soon, yeah, that's it.
Well, there's another way to look at it, though. I mean, like you said, I mean, you do know that these Charlotte guys are good plays. You don't want to like be caught holding the bag. I mean, you don't want to like avoid those guys, hoping that something better breaks later and have nothing break later, right?
Say that one more time. Well, no, I mean, you have to take that risk, in my opinion.
Right.
I don't think you have a choice but to do it, because there's nothing like the 7 game. Sure, somebody can always go off in a game. Like, it's totally possible. But I mean, what you're talking about is potentially like 8-man versus 8-man teams that are all bad defensively playing each other. There's not any value you're going to get that's better in the earlier games. If that happens, and even if it doesn't happen, there's still enough good plays in those later games that they make sense. So I don't see it as anything different. Yeah, but you have to project that stuff, Rody. Like you cannot not do that on these type of slates. And by the way, I don't know what day that was, because it always happens. There has not been one slate. Now this is a smaller slate, but there has not been one slate where we haven't gotten news. Not one. I mean, last night, Damian Jones puts up 36 fantasy points. And he wasn't even a consideration because Rashawn Holmes was supposed to play. So that's my strategy on this slate. I don't think that, people are asking about specific guys in the later games, like Kuminga or something. Like Kuminga versus Winslow and Ellaby, obviously he's a significantly worse play. But could he get there? Sure. I wouldn't be trying to stack up the Warriors, who are pretty dead set in what they're doing. And I don't know what's going to happen with Josh Hart. Ellaby, if Hart's in, then Ellaby and Winslow aren't as interesting, even though they're still mildly interesting. There's rumors about Ben McLemore being traded. I don't know what's happening with that. You know what I mean? And so it's really, really difficult to know at the moment we're at how your lineups are going to look later on. And that's why you have to stay by your computer. I mean, last night, anybody who switched over to Damian Jones, that was the move. You know what I mean? Along with the other guy, and used him with the other value. You're not going to get, and you're not going to get no news no matter what, by the way, because no matter what, we're going to find out whether Rashawn Holmes is playing. If Rashawn Holmes is playing, I think he's a good play. If Rashawn Holmes is not playing, we have a lot more value. So you have to try to figure these things out, and you have to speculate. And I say the right way to do it is to get 4 or 5 of your guys on DraftKings in the later games. And that's probably at a minimum. So that's the strategy that I'm going with here.
Yeah, I can't fade the Charlotte guys like that.
Nobody's saying to fade the Charlotte guys. I said play 2 or 3 of them.
Oh, I thought you meant just push everything back. Okay.
No, I did, but I said the goal should be to play 2 or 3 of the Charlotte guys, maybe a Bull, and then maybe a Raptor. That's all I got for that one. And no, to answer the ones before, I can't deal with this. Sorry, I've got too many issues about this emails from working on the site. All right, I need to turn my phone off. Actually, I can't turn my phone off. I need the alerts. Top FanDuel plays. Again, it's put everything back as much as you can. But again, you're going to play 2 Hornets. The preferred ones for me are LaMelo on FanDuel, probably then Rozier. Not together, probably, to be honest with you, although it's okay. But if you're playing cash, I think you do play those together. If you're not playing cash, I think that's probably a bad. I think you could do better with LaMelo and one of the other guys. But I would go LaMelo. For me, it would be probably LaMelo, Bridges, then Rozier on FanDuel. But you're going to get much higher ownership on LaMelo than any of them. And then Oubre is right there also. He'll be a little lower owned because of his price over there. Don't worry about it. I think he's worth a play. So it's the Charlotte guys in that order. And then I think that I like Scotty Barnes the best on FanDuel of the Raptors. Van Vliet would be second for me, followed by Trent. And then it's going to be, it's going to be wait and see. We don't have anything. Yeah. Anyway.
The first game is that Cleveland game, right?
Yeah. No, not Garland still for Garland is a fine long shot play, I guess, but he's got minutes limited. They've got Karis, all the usage Levert on the team. Brandon Goodwin's active, which he was looking like he was maybe not going to play. So yeah, so no, not as much interest in Garland for me. What's LOL? It's just what it is. Like this is not a slate we can talk much about without because if anybody, there's not usually like 9 questionables and nothing happens. And even if there is nothing that happens, well, that means that Holmes is starting. Josh Hart, we still don't know, and he's doubtful.
Another sneaky questionable that we're looked at that's out there. That being Kevon Looney. Again, it's not going to drive the whole slate or anything like that, but I just didn't notice it from before. Just for him to throw up a questionable just seems seemingly out of nowhere. He's never out of the game. So I'm just wondering.
Who's that?
Kevon Looney. So I'm just following this.
I don't know. He probably. I would. The Warriors stuff means the least to me of anything. But if he's out, of course that's something. But I would assume he doesn't usually sit.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like he like never sits, and so for him to have a Q tag just pop up just seems a little strange.
It's been there all day though.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize.
Yeah. But he's another guy you could. I'm just using filler right now, and to be honest, and again, these other guys you can mix them in. I just don't think you're making your lineups directly stack. Now, if you wanted to do a 3-2 with Chicago and Charlotte, I think it's totally fine. There's a way you still get there, but I would include some speculative plays in the later game so you can use some of the value that could potentially open up. Davion Mitchell, absolutely Davion Mitchell. But again, you're using Davion Mitchell probably with Oubre, or you're using Davion Mitchell with a lot of later guys to try to – you're going to have some options, basically. Because I really am curious to see how this whole thing goes. Like, these teams have been – the most active team in the trade deadline has been – if they trade McLemore and Hart doesn't play for the Blazers, like, that's going to be a tough situation. And to avoid, and LeBron and Westbrook obviously is a large one, and then you've got all the in-day questionables from Minnesota, Beverly, Russell, Edwards, McDaniel, like everybody's questionable for them. So this could end up being, you could end up really being lost at the end if you don't have this, or you could go ahead and stack one of these early games and I would just encourage you to have at least 3. I probably will have 4 or 5 in all my DK lineups in the later games. Heat wave. It is a little bit warm today, to be honest with you. I'm just feeling it, actually. But yeah, these slates are a little bit strange because I don't know what you can do other than prioritize just doing exactly what I said. And then it's hard to – I'm happy to talk in Discord, and I'll be doing that. I'll be in Discord all the way till the end. I'm talking about pivots and stuff, like last night, it was probably only 5 minutes before the thing happened, but I was like, yeah, we got, Damian Jones time or whatever, because we got Holmes out. There's going to be news all the time, and we need to know it kind of before we go. Relax says he's confused by the numbers. What numbers are you confused by? You mean the Sheets' numbers? I think Sheets is just going through his projections system. So that's where we're at. Sheets, do you have anything that stands out maybe that you want to mention here? Because I'm not sure what else to talk about other than delay. And then we could do the what if, and then, obviously if Westbrook and LeBron are out, Malik Monk and Anthony Davis are awesome plays along with Thornton Tucker. I
want to throw just, again, like a couple of guys in there that, again,
And Rhodey, I know it's frustrating, but to hear it that way, to say, well, there just always is something that's going to come up, but it just does. You have just that many moving parts in any system, whether it be human or robots or whatever. There's just going to be variance, and especially with the trade deadline, there's just too much stuff going on for there to get through an entire 5-game slate past lock without something happening, and to play an early game and shut yourself out for at least a percentage of a spot, if that should open up, is just, just because you don't know what's going to happen doesn't mean nothing's going to happen. And just because, Bobby said sometimes facetiously, but it makes sense, even on a regular NBA slate, when we talk at noon, we talk about, well, there's there's the news that we're waiting on, and then the news that we don't know that we're waiting on. You know what I mean? And that's part of, the unknown is part of what you have to plan for in a way. So that's why these late games just carry on that much more importance, because
and half the games are at 10 today too.
Right. Yeah, I know exactly. And late games in and of themselves are usually better to play anyway for those reasons. Not to mention late swappabilities. But again, if something should come up in a late game that you don't have at least the ability to access because you made a play because you really happen to like Evan Mobley, like for example, I mean, not that Evan Mobley's a bad play, but
Right.
but you don't want to just. You better make sure that you want what you want in that early game. Now, there's also some game theory aspects to this, right? So it's possible that some of these early guys are going to be somewhat lower owned because of that, because some of the experts are going to do that. I don't think that's going to apply to the Charlotte people. The Charlotte people are going to get hammered. Okay, but like for example, if you really just like someone from that San Antonio game, for whatever reason, I mean, you're going to get those guys are going to be, nobody's going to play those guys. Okay. Because they're not great plays anyway, and they're early. The Charlotte guys, people are just going to play because they're good plays. They just are. And most of the Charlotte ownership is going to come from exactly what I said. Listen, these are good plays. I don't know what's coming later. Let's take the sure thing good plays rather than wait for the possibility of a great play. And the substitution variance and the trade variance and all that stuff in these next 2 or 3 days is just so wild that even like a really good play in an early game is not going to be good enough. You really want to do your best to push it out if at all possible.
Yeah. But I mean, again, the first game is the least interesting. But if somebody wanted to play a one-off of any of these guys, I'm not going to say it's wrong. I'm just saying I would try to save room for some of these late game guys. Also, by the way, outside of the Chicago Charlotte game, the late games are the better games anyway by a long shot. So there's not like you're like compromising too much by playing those games. I'm playing a ton of Donovan Mitchell, but again, that could easily turn into something else. I have some Steph Curry. Which
wait, hold on. I didn't even finish my sentence about I started. I want to go over some of these other plays.
Yeah,
just to keep in there. So guys like the Bobby mentioned. You mentioned like right now he's got like Derek Favors in the car, right? Whether that actually stays or not is open to interpretation, right? But he does rate to be kind of a decent play. So if nothing comes up and you're stuck with him, that's fine to interpretation, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and then even like the Trenton Wofford, I mean, like all else being equal, he's not bad. The other guy that kind of showed up for me, these 2 Utah guys, like Royce O'Neal showing up is a decent play. And then
freaking fire alarm. Sorry guys, let me just mute myself here. Go ahead, Chief. Go ahead.
Oh my God, the fire alarm through the computer actually got my dog barking. So like this Udoka Azubuike from Utah at 4K. It looks like just like an okay play. You could put him in as kind of like a placeholder, and if whatever happens, the whole slate blows up and you can't do anything about it. He's not, it's not the worst play in the world. Let me take a look at FanDuel for a second and see if there's anything really different over there. Not really. LaMelo looks like a really, really strong play. Bridges, Rozier, all this stuff.
See that the fire alarm went back off. This building is going nuts lately. I have no idea what's going on. This is so much craziness. Yeah. So if there's what's the stack though? Stack can be anything. It can be an allocation of how much salary you use, or how many players you use in combined. Usually, it would be used for 3 to 5 players or more. But it could also be salary, and you could do like a 1v1 mini stack thing. I did send the Discord link, by the way, for that guy. All right. I'm going to see if I can do some digging, and I will be in Discord. I'll leave in a few minutes. But guys, pop in any more questions about the early guys, because I do think there are some decisions between these guys you can make. And some, I think Lou Dort is a good play, and I think that the Raptors guys are good plays. But I think that, Raptor rankings, just to go through. So I'm actually taking it like DraftKings, Van Vliet, Siakam, then Trent, then Barnes, then Anunoby, but I would probably just play one. The Thunder, Lou Dort, then Giddey on DraftKings. Baisley would be next for me, with Favors as a possibility, maybe even Trey Mann, but I'm confused at why would you use Trey Mann when we have value for a guy who never gets there in a terrible matchup. But he does play the minutes, so there is enough room for him to get there. But I don't love these guys. LaMelo, Bridges, Rozier, Washington, and Oubre are the priorities, basically in that order for me. You could argue between those, but it's pretty close. Kobe White is priced hard to ignore. DeRozan will get ownership. I do not think Vucevic will get much ownership, so I'm going to go more Vucevic, where I'm running back at a 2-1 or a 3-1. Again, leaving 4 spots for later. And then I'm not playing anybody in the Cavs except for like in smaller buy-ins. And that would just be like Mobley, Allen, or Love, but I don't love any of it. And it's a terrible matchup for the Spurs, but it's kind of a weird looking slate. So you can always make an excuse for DeJounte Murray. Don't like the matchup for him, though. All right. So spending up on Chicago, Charlotte, then relying on latent value. No, but I'm not saying to do that at all. I'm saying I'm saying what I'm doing is playing 2 or 3 Hornets, but that includes value. I mean, Kelly Oubre is 5,600, PJ Washington's 4,900, Kobe White's 5,100. I don't think that you need to those guys are all value plays, and there's your 3 guys from the earlier games. Those are probably the ones who you end up with the most. But I'm not saying you rely on the late value. I'm saying you rely on the late having the ability to switch onto anything you want. Having the entire Timberwolves team out against the Kings means De'Aaron Fox and Karl-Anthony Towns would have been 70% owned if they knew that before the slate started. Whereas they're going to be significantly lower because people are going to spend earlier. Where I am spending, I'm using the later guys, and you can call it speculative or whatever. Ellaby, obviously Winslow, and they can get there, by the way, even if Josh Hart plays. Ellaby, Winslow, you don't need to wait on the value. You can play Patrick Beverley if he's in. You can play Holmes if he's in. If he's not in, Jones becomes a great play. Metu is a great play anyway. Davion Mitchell's a good play. De'Aaron Fox is a great play. Anthony Simons is a great play. Whichever Laker, if any Laker sits, whichever one, the other 2 become good plays, but it's probably would probably be, if it was LeBron, both Westbrook and AD would be good plays, but I would lean more AD. If it's Westbrook, I would lean more AD than LeBron, probably still. And I'll be in Discord to answer that stuff. I'm not going anywhere. So I can chat through all that when we find out the actual lineups. But right now, I've got a lot of guys who I'm using as quote like filler pieces. And if I get stuck with them, I get stuck with them. But that's my strategy. That's what I'm doing. And if we find out the news earlier, great. Then we don't have to worry about that. But I don't think it's very likely for us to.
Yeah, it's one of those nights where you're just gonna have to be just following it along.
Yeah, I'm going to answer Luke's question here. Again, I don't have a way to answer this question without knowing who's playing in the later games. And I don't know which site you're talking about either. So what price range and what site are you talking about when you ask for favorite power forwards? And I'll answer that, and then I'll get out of here and try and figure out what I'm going to do, because I can't really figure it out with all these question marks on the trade deadline. I mean, we know the trade deadlines are like this. It gives us an edge, but it's also like really frustrating and stressful. DraftKings,
Lonnie Walker, good to go. Darius Garland, good to go.
Yeah. To answer the question about the power forwards, it really depends. It's a really hard question to answer because they're all different. PJ Washington, Metu, Siakam, DeRozan, Baisley, Bridges, Winslow. All of those guys I'm using, but Winslow I have the most ownership of. Bridges would be next for me, followed by Washington. Those are the ones I'm using the most. All right, guys. Well, I'm gonna have to run and get to my lineups.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I mean, I'll answer your questions, but again, unfortunately, I'm a little bit crippled because I just literally don't know who's playing. I mean,
yeah. But I don't understand the MJ question here. I'm just going to address it. What do you mean? Would I leave center open or play PJ at the position? I don't know what that means. Leave it open. You can't leave it open. You mean like for the later game? No, I don't think that matters. Like you should be trying to use your utility spot for that. So I don't think that you should look at it like that. The zone move being out is why everyone's on Kobe White today. But it could be Troy Brown or Javonte Green, who I don't mind as pretty thin value plays if you're going to make a 5-man stack. But I don't love it. And with that, guys, I appreciate everybody. Sorry, it's hard to have decisive answers, but we do have it in Discord. I will be there to try and answer questions after locks. No, I'm not trying to backload specifically at center. Because that's what I mean. Like, so you mean, would you rather leave power forward or center? Like, I don't understand the question exactly, because that's an important question that I think but I just don't know which way you're asking it. Are you saying, should you leave power forward or center open? Is that what the question is? I don't know. To answer that question, I don't think it matters much which ones you use, as long as you got your utility and the other spots available.
So let me just so that the 7:00 game is Cleveland. The first bit of news I guess we're waiting on is the Minnesota, right?
I mean, we're waiting on Josh Hart playing,
right?
All the Lakers, whether they're playing,
but those aren't until 10, right?
Yeah, but Minnesota's at 10 also.
Right. What I'm saying is, so the only real decision we have to make is how little to play early. You know what I mean? Like,
yep, that's what I was saying. 2 or 3 Hornets, 1 Bull, maybe. Not even necessary to have 1 Bull, but maybe.
And then the next, and the 8:00 is the Toronto. So. That's the thing. We're not going to be getting news on the Minnesota Sacramento, I imagine, until after. It would be nice if we got it before Charlotte, but I don't think we're going to.
I agree. I'll answer one last thing here. Scotty Barnes and Metu or Trent or and Ellaby. I like both of them. I mean, so technically it could be Gary Trent and Metu also. I like Metu better than Ellaby right now. But again, I need to see that he's starting. I need to see that Hart is out, whether Hart's in or out. So it really depends. But it doesn't matter because you can leave that spot open and figure that out later.
Dude, this just really scared the crap out of me. So I want to share this on this New Orleans, this thing. On the DraftKings lobby, it says like New Orleans, no game. I don't even know what that means.
Why is it in there?
Yeah.
They're not playing.
Yeah.
There may have been a scheduled game earlier. Remember the COVID?
Oh, maybe. Okay.
Yeah, but it's been a while since that happened, so it's kind of weird.
Westbrook, it says.
All right, guys, I'm going to say good luck to you tonight and head on over and try and build my lineups out and just make sure I've got it exactly the way I was saying it. But I'll be in Discord, so you guys can find me there. Good luck, everybody. Good luck, Sheets.
Yeah, thanks. So this is like what a FanDuel lineup would look like now. This is like ultra loaded with this Charlotte thing, right? So this has got like a LaMelo and Rozier and Bridges and Washington, right? And a full run back with Levine. I mean, that's spending a lot of money early. And this currently has a Curry in there. So what this is presuming is that nothing happens late. And I don't know if I can get away with that. I might have to just push back and reserve the right to play guys late. Because could you imagine if like you said, if both Westbrook and say LeBron were ruled out? I mean, do you know what kind of smash play Davis would be? For example, not to mention the fact that he's just such a natural stack with those Portland guys. And I'd be sitting here like, what the hell am I doing playing too much Terry Rozier or whatever, or too much XYZ because I didn't feel like waiting for the possibility of maybe an incredible smash play of Anthony Davis. So it's not just about getting the plays right. I mean, you really have to push this stuff back, and it's hard. Especially the Charlotte stuff. Like I don't mind waiting on, I don't mind not playing the Cleveland guys because as I was saying, they're not really that great plays. But these other guys, these Charlotte guys are all really, really good plays. This is my Discord. That's some lineups. But again, these are all going to be different. Let's see. Any other news here yet? No, not yet. It's the blockchain thing I was doing. Now I need a good way to find the browser that you guys are hanging out in right now. I just don't know. I figured it out a couple of days ago, and now I forget like how to search all my browsers for where you guys are hanging out. I'll just keep closing. This one? No. So we'll just keep closing browsers. Maybe I closed yours already. Maybe you're already gone. Okay, so no. No. How about this one? No. Yeah, so like Mark, like this is stupid stuff I struggle with. Oh, there you are. Okay, there it is. You're just playing one Charlotte guy. Boy, see, that's rough. Yeah, Timothy, I don't know. That's like the only thing I did well last night. I played Greg Brown and Julius Randle. I don't know if I'm going to play him tonight. I really don't. I'm not, not to be evasive. I just really have no idea. I'll tell you this, Curry at 9,500 is pretty reasonable on FanDuel. I mean, then again, like if you want to play 3 or 4 Charlottes, run it back with a couple of Bulls, root for overtime, and just sit on your fat ass and watch everybody else trying to get there with CJ Ellaby and Damian Jones and all that stuff. I mean, it's possible. You can definitely put a number up if you do that. It's kind of tough to, and this is what I think about, right? So if you okay, let's say you wanted to play a big old Charlotte Chicago thing, and like ignore the late games. Okay. And let's say that they do well. What you could do all kinds of, where sports betting is legal,
all kinds of cool prop bets on these late games. Like let's say that hey, DraftKings, in your DFS, you avoided the late games, you took a gamble, you were wrong, and it turns out that XYZ is whatever. What you could do is you could speculate a little bit, and you could, like right now, I presume that, for example, Anthony Davis is probably a break-even value, whatever his prop is. I'm just presuming because lines are usually pretty tight, right? So I'm presuming that Anthony Davis is a break-even value on points. If in fact LeBron is out, okay, and Westbrook is out, which would basically make your DFS lineups really miserable, okay? Because unless you saved room for LeBron, for AD, what you could do is you could just bet right now. You could bet on the over in the Anthony Davis thing, and if nothing happens, you basically have a break-even bet. So you're probably losing a little vig. But if he turns out that these other guys are out, you made an insane EV bet, and you basically make free money. And that's like a kind of a neat, I don't know, I think it's a neat little way to hedge the uncertainty of your DFS lineups that if you're going to play early games. Is you think about what you might be missing and bet that, you know what I mean? And who was like another example? You could do a prop bet on what else could show up later. You think about this. So D'Angelo Russell, okay, you can do that. Play a D'Angelo Russell under right now. Right now, play D'Angelo Russell under points. I don't think that the prop bets are really factoring that much of a chance that he's out. Maybe a small bit, so maybe taking a little bit of the worst of it. If he actually plays, you play under on D'Angelo Russell, or you know what I mean. And if he doesn't play or whatever, I presume you cash if he doesn't play. I'm not sure how it works. Or you could just play the T-Wolves under. T-Wolves team total under, which is probably a break-even bet anyway. And this way it's a hedge against your early lineup stacking strategy. So I don't know. And again, I haven't figured this out yet. And I'm really just shocked that people that play like $1 million a night, there are people that do that, haven't figured this out either. I don't, not that I don't care. I mean, I don't do this professionally really, so it's not, I don't have the same incentive. I'm also staring at this Vooch ownership at 7%. You play these Charlotte guys, you run it back with Vooch on FanDuel, and then then just say, I'm going to put a number down. Good luck to everybody. What did I get here? I just got a note saying that if I feel like buying a suite for the Super Bowl, I could have one for the low price of $775,000. Here, let's see what this says. Ready? Hello all. We have a unique opportunity to offer access to one of the very last suites available during this. For a serious buyer, includes 24 tickets on the 10-yard line, $775,000. Yes, $25,000 commission to the people who sell this stuff. It's an amazing deal this close to the game. The suite owner just put up for sale. It's not available through brokers. To put it in perspective, Kanye West bought what he thought was the last remaining executive suite the other day for $2 million. So we could get it for the low price of $775,000. So you guys, really got to win tonight, and we got to buy Bobby a You got to buy Bobby these sweets. Let me see. Anything else? I guess that's all we got for now. All right, so I guess I'm going to go too. Unfortunately, it's just not a slate I can do anything for you guys except give you the advice that we have already, and that is just kind of try to push stuff back. But that'll do it. Good luck, and we'll be in Discord pretty much all night. I imagine.